Good afternoon and welcome into the Stokastic.com live before lock shows are here to get you ready for UFC Vegas 66, which goes down in just under a 1 hour from now. We'll be here for the next hour answering any questions you have on UFC Vegas 66. We are sponsored by PrizePicks. We'll talk a little about PrizePicks here later on in the show. Of course, as always, I'm joined by my guy, Pete Rogers Jr. Pete, what's going on, man?
What's going on? We got the crew back together again. I love it. We got our boy Tyler behind the scenes. We got Jason. I'm here, and it's nice whenever we can all get together. It's like good old times, and we appreciate everybody in chat. We miss you guys too. So happy to be here. Break down the card, answer some questions, get into some really interesting underdogs today, Jason, just to kind of make lineup construction easier.
Gotta tell you, when I was doing my lineups a little while ago, I really had to play a fancy cruncher a lot because I was getting to a lot of Jared Cannonier, way too much Jared Cannonier. So I had to reduce that down, and also was getting to a lot of Alex Caceres. I'm like, I really don't want to get there either. So I had to manipulate some things in fancy cruncher to put together my multi-entry lineups.
All right. Well, we got a super chat from Sam. So if this is correct, which we're gonna have to take our eyes to the Twitter street, and I'm sure Tyler's going to be doing so as well. He says ESPN is showing that Albazi fight is canceled. DraftKings is not showing it. We will confirm that because I went really light on Albazi, but I got to tell you, I have a ton of the underdog of his opponent just because he's so damn cheap. And I talked about it on our show about his floor of how last week with Kozlo, even in a loss, getting me enough points to kind of pay up for the studs. So that's kind of what I did this week. So I really hope not. I guess my natural pivot from the underdog would have to be like Cody Brundage or Journey Newson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking on over on Twitter. I'm not seeing anything yet, so I'll keep an eye on that. But Aaron Bronster usually is a pretty good source when it comes to this stuff.
ESPN also doesn't know what the heck they're doing half the time when it comes to most things. So they tweet articles like a day and a half late. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet, but Sam, we'll appreciate that heads up. We'll keep a look on that one. I would imagine if that there is a canceled matchup that Ari says, we should be able to check that out.
All right. We got Sean saying it's canceled on the UFC site. Who knows? But we're going to get confirmation. But that does kind of mix things up because you have the top stud in Amir Albazi getting eliminated from if this matchup is canceled. I don't think many people were on the underdog besides me and everybody else. So who knows?
Yeah, I'm kind of going around various things. The fight still lists on the UFC websites and still lists on the ESPN website.
All right, cool. So we got fake news in chat. We got fake news, but it's okay. We appreciate it. Kind of getting us on our toes a little bit.
But look, if we do see anything, we'll keep an eye out for it. Of course, yesterday, Mahashate misses weight by 2.5 pounds. And you brought up a great point to me that just because of stylistically how Rafa Garcia may compete, that could have been a business decision made.
Yeah, 100%. I'm almost positive. I mean, like Mahashate, so many unknowns surrounding him, and there's so much ownership flocking to him. So naturally, on paper, it kind of makes me want to get some more of Rafa Garcia from a leverage standpoint. But also, I just think from a stylistic standpoint, like, we don't know how Mahashate is going to handle 10 plus takedown attempts if it happens. So like the extra weight coming in, weighing in heavy could help Mahashate keep it on the feet a little bit. We see it all the time. It's a nice little strategic move as long as you don't do it too often under the UFC banner. But that's a fight where I circle Jason. Like I have tons of exposure to Rafa Garcia and Mahashate.
Yeah, and of course, if you want to get access to all those great data and tools we have over Stokastic.com, we got a great offer for you right now, as you can get 3 free days of Stokastic MMA. This is for new users only. This is a risk-free trial. It gives you full access to everything Stokastic MMA has to offer. Our projections, our ownership, top fire tool, optimal line percentage, so much more. You can join a great community. It's a great way to give it a test drive. You've been thinking about diving into a Stokastic Plus membership right now. Great time to try out our MMA product free for 3 days All you got to do is click the link in the description below to take advantage of this offer. It's a great way to test everything out there because, I mean, look, we got to be looking at those, the top fire tools, what I'm looking at, and ownership projections is something that is so critical to me. And it's one of those things of, when I was looking at ownership projections, there were some things, the Mahashate ownership, I was like, man, that one really stuck out to me.
Yeah, I mean, he knocked out Steve Garcia, which he's like borderline UFC talent, and nothing against Steve Garcia. He destroyed Chase Hooper, but like this is a mainly a regional guy and hasn't really had a ton of success at the top level. Mahashate just hit him with a beautiful right hand as Garcia kind of blitzed forward. So the power's there for Mahashate. I just don't know if the well-rounded skill set is. So power sometimes wins out. I think that we've seen Rafa Garcia go up against other power punchers, Nasrat Haqparast, Drakkar Klose. Like the fact that he survived against Drakkar Klose, I think Drakkar's looked pretty damn good since his return. So Mahashate is going to come in here and knock out Rafa Garcia. I'm accounting for it for some of my lineups, but I would say for the majority of them, I'm accounting for a grappling contest with Rafa Garcia, edging him out.
Yeah, it's this is one of those cards where I do think there is a good amount of fires to look at in terms of those takedowns. As we talk about game theory today, and I got to talk about the game theory you had last week that worked out really well for you, where you took a low salary fighter, Steven Kozlov. If he takes a DQ, you take down the contest as opposed to finishing third there. But that is a game theory to think about is, looking at someone who's underneath $7,000 on DraftKings and say, can they go out there in a 15-minute fight and maybe they get you 50 points? Jared Gordon did last week. Yep. He was in the optimal lineup with 58 points. That is a game theory that maybe we don't talk about enough here on the show.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a complete punt, right? Like I didn't build to have a losing fighter in my lineup because I actually thought that Kozlov had a legitimate shot at winning, especially early round one odds. He had really good grappling. Taking it on short notice definitely didn't help. But I mean, he looked good in the first round and a half and scored enough points when it came to takedowns and top control. Probably could have got the DQ win if we're being honest, and took the warrior way out and wanted to continue to fight and then ended up getting finished later on. So, hindsight's 2020. I'm sure he regrets that decision a little bit. If he picks up the DQ win, I probably take it down, finish third. It was fantastic. It was a great weekend. But why I rostered so much Kozlov was because of the safe floor. So whenever I have somebody that can give me a floor of grappling, grappling's the easiest way to get DraftKings points. So if I can get between 40 to 60 points, 35 to 55 points in a loss, that's fantastic. And then sometimes you just need a good bounce and you get a terrible scorecard from the judges. And next thing you know, you're walking away with an underdog who's cashing when nobody really, projected that. So there's way too many people down at the bottom salary wise that just go completely lost in the shuffle and nobody wants to get to them because from an on paper standpoint, they look like they're in terrible matchups.
When you look at those fighters who are earning $7,000, so you got Costa at 6,600, you got Cody Brunge at 6,800. In that game theory, Cody Brunge, it's a boom bust play. That's a matchup that I'm fully expecting that the winner is going to win that fight in the first round. Looking at and then there's no other 6,000 option. You look at the lower 7,000, David Dvorak at 7,100, Matthew Schmelsberger at 7,000, Corey McKenna at 7,200, and Damir Ismagulov at 7,300.
Yeah, I mean, I might have my Armin Sarukian blinders on, but I'm not really getting to much Damir Ismagulov just because I don't think he's a great fantasy play. In victories, he hasn't really scored the best, and he's like a fighter that tends to go the distance more often than not. 63 in a win over Guram Kutateladze. 71 over Thiago Moises, 55 over Joel Alvarez. And I think that Armin Sarukian's his toughest fight inside the UFC thus far. So other people may want to get to him because he is so damn talented. But I'm kind of looking at it from a matchup standpoint. I'd much rather get to people below him. Corey McKenna, grappling upside, women's MMA, tends to go the distance. Could be a very, very close fight. You like her from a long shot standpoint, and I don't hate it at all. David Dvorak, I got to a little bit. I just don't like the fact that he was knocked down and hurt multiple times against Mateusz Nicolau. Now you're going up against Manel Kopp, who has better striking than Nicolau. Then it comes down to Semmelsberger, massive step up in competition against Jake Matthews. Don't like that matchup for him. So now it's like between Costa, Brundage, and Newson. Brundage is probably the most popular of the 6,000 options because of his legitimate ways of winning against Michal Oleksiejczuk. Get a takedown, ground and pound, submission skills. That's the best way to beat Oleksiejczuk. But, Newson's going up against a guy in Morozov who's way better than him, but not the most durable. Costa, 6,600. Nope, that's so cheap. 6,600 is so damn cheap. If he didn't accept it on short notice, I would be smashing this salary just because he's a good grappler. He's a good wrestler. Just from a takedown defense standpoint, though, he could get taken down multiple times against Amir Albazi. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all over the place with the 6,000 options where nobody really is.
Yeah, I mean, when I was developing my cash lineup, when I started kind of playing around with the lineups, I was like, let me put Costa in. Let me just see what I can get to. And I mean, and for the most part, really allows you to get to anything you want. You mentioned about the Corey McKenna, and to me, it's a value play with the grappling upside. If Cheyenne can keep that fight on the feet, she's going to jab her to death. I mean, but Corey McKenna has to get the fight to the ground. There is, to me, and me and you have talked about this plenty of times, that there's times when there's fights that you could just never get out of your mind. In today's card, we have two fighters that are perfect examples of that. One being Cheyenne when Ruiz just used a head and arm choke to take her down 4 times. And then the other one is Cody Brundage when he got lit up on the feet by Dolce. Dolce shows poor fight IQ, goes for a takedown, and kudos to Cody. Catches him in a guillotine, finishes the fight. Those are things that you don't sit there and look at. But this is one of those cards that, like, I can look up and down and say, man, we've got some fighters with grappling upside throughout this card. You look at, particularly on the preliminary cards, Jake Matthews, to me, I don't trust Matthew Smellersberger to be able to stop a takedown. So that's why I like really Jake Matthews in that spot. Said Yokub is another one. Potential major grappling upside taking on Said Nurmagomedov. Hafa Garcia, we already mentioned him. Hanat and Sergey. Those are two other ones that if you're looking at targeting grapplers today, we got plenty of options out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So many options. And that's why when I see some fighters going under-owned, I want to get more exposure because this is going to be a very tricky slate. Tons of volatile matchups, tons of fights and fighters where I wouldn't label many of them trustworthy. Like if I had to label your most trustworthy fighter on this card, I'm sure it's like it's a conversation. You know what I mean? Like it's a little difficult to put that label trustworthy on somebody right here. You can see it going either way. Volatile matchups, inconsistent fighters, recency bias, just so many things to take into consideration. And Jake Matthews for me Jake Matthews and Arman Sarukian might be two of my most confident plays. I just don't know how they score.
Yeah, I saw someone mention this question over Discord, and I think it's a really great question. And it's something I thought of when I was building a cash lineup. Is Jake Matthews or Michal Oleksiejczuk? Matthews, clear grappling upside. Oleksiejczuk, you got first round finishing upside.
Yeah.
Both those guys are Oleksiejczuk. I want to say it's 5 of his 9 UFC fights have been in the first round. I want to say maybe he's only going in the third round, maybe once. Cody Brundage, his last 2 fights have been in the first round. If you include his Contender Series fight, 3 of his 4 fights under the Zuffa banner have ended in the first round. So that's going to be a common theme when we talk about PrizePicks later on, because I do like the prop over there on Fight Time for Oleksiejczuk, but either one of those guys, I think, are solid plays. But if you have to go one or the other, I probably go Matthews just because of the grappling upside from a fantasy score perspective.
For me, it comes down to do you want a safe lineup or do you want a risky lineup? I think the risky lineup lies with Michal Oleksiejczuk, clear round 1 upside. If Dolce Lugambula can beat the heck out of Cody Brundage, you best believe that Michal Oleksiejczuk can go out there and do the same thing, but put him away. As far as Jake Matthews, I think that he's content with winning decisions and just putting together a strong performance without kind of risking it for the biscuit. And I think that the upside lies more with Mihal's early finish rate, kind of like a Jairzinho Rosenstruck against Dawkins the other week.
I mean, just to kind of go through, kind of quickly on some of these fights, because we do want to get into your questions. Like a main event, it's not necessarily a priority fight for me, just because of how I think the fight's going to play out. I mean, you love Sarukian. We've talked about Albazi and Costa a little bit. Arosa Caceres, I think it's more of a cash game play than a GPP because of the salary there, but I do like Julian Arosa to win that one. Dover Green, I think, is going to be a fun fight. That's to me more of a cash games play. Maybe we see Bobby Green maybe try to get some takedowns late in rounds that may help secure rounds. We talked about Olashechik Brundage. That to me is a GPP fight. That is a fight that I want to get on both sides just because of the volatility with that one. Velismus McKenna, don't really love that. I Velismus, she may just jab her to death, but if she doesn't have any knockdowns, she doesn't have any takedowns, I think it's probably hard for her to pay off that 9,000 price tag based on other ones. I mentioned about why I like Jake Matthews. Sai Yoku is a guy that I really like today. But there's high volatility in that one. To me, it's about can he utilize his grappling in that one. We talked about Garcia, the grappling. Hanat, I like the grappling over Brian Battle. Actually talked to one of Brian's teammates yesterday. And kind of alluded to they've been working on it. And then Dvorak and Manel Kopp, I don't really love getting there in GPPs just because of if you're rostering that fight and you're probably more rostering the Manel Kopp side of that fight, you're just hoping that he's going to knock him out. The concern for me is low volume for that one. And Sergey Morozov is another guy I like from a takedown perspective.
Yeah. So from the top, I like Jared Cannonier over Sean Strickland. Not a priority fight to target for me. It's just easy to land on Jared Cannonier. I think that he has the potential to knock out Sean Strickland. Some defensive mistakes I see out of Strickland. I think that Strickland's good, talented, put together really strong performances against Jack Hermanson, Uriah Hall. Could he do the same to Cannonier? I think Cannonier is better than what most people think. Sarukian Ismagulov. I'm all over Sarukian. I like him a lot. Albazi's pretty damn expensive, and that's kind of just a little restrictive from a build standpoint. I got to him a little bit, but the Albazi price tag is just lofty, and I know his opponent's coming in on short notice, but it's still a lot to pay up for. You know what I mean? It really is. Arosa Caceres is a fight that I feel I'm a little underweight to it. It makes me nervous. Arosa, notoriously known for not being a trustworthy guy, being a little volatile. Now he's on like an excellent win streak right now. Seems to be patching some holes. Seems to be fighting a little smarter. We have Caceres, who is a gatekeeper, 14-11-1 inside the UFC. If you give him an opportunity to throw up submissions, he can definitely spoil the party and take you out there. But I'm kind of expecting that fight to go the distance, and I'm light on it. Drew Dober, Bobby Green, planting my flag on Bobby Green today from a volume, even some slight wrestling upside. I just like Bobby Green in the matchup, as long as he could avoid the power of Drew Dober. Being so light on Drew Dober makes me nervous, though. Like that's a guy that in the mid-range I'm a little nervous about, to be honest. And then the rest of the fights I kind of touched on already, who I like. But those other fights, Bobby Green is a guy I'm getting to a lot. It just makes a ton of sense.
Now, if you like Pete and you like Bobby Green, say over at BetMGM plus 135. At BetMGM has a great offer going for you right now. Is get 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum and up to a $1,000 risk-free bet when you sign up, make a deposit, and make your first paid wager at BetMGM. So say you want to take that Bobby Green minus plus 135. Looking at some of those other props that stick out to me on Bobby Green. Bobby Green wins via decision. Plus 200 is another one if you want to get a little more juice on that money. But be sure to take advantage of this offer that BetMGM has for you right now. And if your risk-free bet loses, a refund will be issued in site credit. So be sure to check out that. And of course, click that link in the video description below to take and all the information and what you got to do to take advantage of this offer right down below. Just looking over at BetMGM and some of those things. I mean, to me, I almost feel like kind of like if you're looking for an over in that fight is probably somewhere to go over there with in terms of that one, because to me that fight is to me it's got decision written all over it. But you got to take advantage for all new Bet MGM users right now. A risk-free bet up to $1,000 at Bet MGM and earn 2 free months of Stokastic Plus. All you got to do is click that link below.
Just got a notification that one of my boys is moved on to the finals in his grappling contest. So here we go.
Awesome.
Out of state too. I couldn't be there today. So yeah, nice. One of my beginners, ex-wrestler. So we've been grinding. We got a team is building, man. I love it.
Awesome stuff. Let's get into some of these super chats. Sam Pierce said best DK captain overall and non-chalky. So look at this captain contest as you got Albazi 14-4, Olszewski 13-8, Matthews 13-5, Velismus 12-9, Sarukian 12-6, Arosa 12,000, Dober 11-4, Strickland 10-8, Cannonier 10-5, Green 9,900, and so on and so forth.
I'm gonna go Armin Sarukian. I don't think that he has as much upside as some of the others, but I think it's a safer floor than some people around him. Price discount 12.6, so nearly 2,000 from the top. 1,000 and some change from Olszewski, Matthews, and Cheyenne Velismus rather. So I mean, I just like getting to Sarukian, and I think in that spot as a captain, I don't have ownership on that. I was going to say, but to me, I think a lot of people might be looking at more volatile fights as a captain roster. So I'm going to be putting Sarukian in my captain spot.
And if you do that, that leaves you 74.80 average player per remaining if you're doing those captain contests over there. So, of course, you got any questions, line those up. We'll get these super chats in here. Sam with another super chat says, thoughts on McKenna wrestling for decision? That's the clear path. I mean, that is the clear path to her winning that fight.
I mean, I think she can volume strike. I don't think that she's a bad striker. She's pretty good. She's well-rounded, but the path of least resistance is to incorporate her wrestling and work towards a submission finish, similar to how she did in her previous bout. I am worried about McKenna's consistent concussion issues that she's voiced over and over. And Cheyenne Velismus can hit you a lot of times, throw head kicks really well. Training at Extreme Couture, I like that for Velismus. Whenever it's a close fight and I can see it going the distance, I tend to lean towards the stronger gym. So for me, I'm going to be leaning towards Velismus.
And look, you can never forget Cheyenne Velismus' best line. Do you remember?
I remember she said something smart. What the heck? What did she say?
I'll follow you home, bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Against Ruiz.
Oh, when she got head and arm throwed 16 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you might want to follow her home 16 times. I think Montserrat Ruiz broke the slate that day. Who knows?
Yeah. Look, it is in that fight, it's very clear. I mean, it's clear if you're Velismus, it's about keeping the fight on the feet and making this a kickboxing matchup. And if you're McKenna, I mean, you just have to get the matchup to the ground. You know, that's why I like her as a value play. And look, I understand why you would not want to get to Corey McKenna. Totally get it. But, you know, to me, it's more about looking at that fantasy score upside and saying, okay, when I'm looking for wrestlers and you give me a chance to get a wrestler at a cheap value play, I don't mind getting there. Now, is it like in terms of like building a cash core lineup? Is she going in there? No, she's not.
No, not for me at all. I'd rather just punt somewhere else. But man, we got a decent amount of people in here. We appreciate every single one of you. Almost 300. If you guys can hit that like button, get us over 100 likes, shoot your questions into chat so we can help you guys out for this slate and hopefully take down a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I just pulled up my cash lineup, and if you look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 6 all have takedown upside.
Yeah, that's why I think this slate's going to be very interesting because like people are catching on and grappling, you know, wins out when it comes to DraftKings. I don't know if you've been playing on FanDuel as much, but
I haven't.
Yeah, DraftKings is my darling.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you this: there was a really good thread earlier this week about DraftKings and late swap, which it's nice to have when we have a fight cancellation, no question about it. But overall, I'm just not huge on it.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been letting my lineups just sit regardless. let everybody kind of tinker and screw themselves up. I think it's going to take some time for people to get better at the late swap. But hopefully that doesn't happen and they just go back to how it was.
And of course, right as we're talking about this, one of our members over Discord says, "Did you guys send your weekly disgusted email to DraftKings demanding them remove late swap?"
Yeah, no, it's late swap, man. It was an experiment, but they just need to go talk to people, and we could have just avoided this entire issue.
Yeah. Let's see here. Thomas asking if I'm going to have an end of year recap show. Yeah, because next couple of weeks we have no MMA events really to talk about, so that's going to be kind of the next couple of weeks in terms of the content I'm going to be putting out there.
So Thomas must follow you on your channel as well. What the MMA report, I would imagine. Yeah. Awesome, Thomas. Thank you. Make sure you guys check out Jason's channel where he interviews fighters and talks more about fights from a discussion aspect, and it's awesome.
Top dogs of today. Okay, so this is kind of we can kind of go down the line here. Right at the top, I think you got to look at is Jared Cannonier at 7,700 over on DK and even $18 over on FanDuel. That to me is an underdog I want to target. So he would be right at the top of the list.
He's number one for me.
Bobby Green, I do like Bobby Green over FanDuel at $14. I think we're getting some nice value over there. To me, it's more of a cash game play in terms of the GPP play, but I do like Bobby Green, the potential, because that should be a straight up kickboxing matchup, I would imagine.
Yeah, I like Bobby Green. My second would be Kakhramonov, though. That's a really good play and has good wrestling upside. Just got to avoid the dynamic striking of Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, you're talking at 10 takedowns in his last fight against Trevin Jones. $15 over on FanDuel. Still good value for Kakhramonov over there. Look, Brunage it's a punt / boom bust play. If he's going to win, it's probably going to come early. Same thing with Olashaychuk. I'd much rather get Olashaychuk over there. Mahashate, obviously, if he can keep the fight on the feet, I think is another one that sticks out to me as well as a underdog play.
What's the hardest thing to decipher is who I prefer in some of my lineups, Brian Battle or Mahashate. It's close for me. It really is. We've seen more from Brian Battle, right? He is fighting Rinat Fakhretdinov on short notice. Got to keep it on the feet. Has sneaky submissions that could lead to a late finish over a tired Rinat Fakhretdinov. Probably the better striker over the sloppy Rinat. Mahashate has tons of questions, right, Jason? So I'm really torn on that fight.
In terms of a 1v1, if you told me I had to go Battle or Mahashate, I think more times than not, I would go Mahashate.
I look at Hoffa and I see a beatable guy.
Well, my thought is does Hoffa have 15 minutes of cardio?
Yeah,
and especially if he's constantly shooting for grappling and say Mahashate can just, survive that 10 minutes of flurry and then he takes over in the third round. I think that's why I would give a slight edge to Mahashate over Brian Battle.
See, for me, I think personally I might go Brian Battle just because we see Rinat kind of getting takedowns and laying there. Looks like he has suspect cardio, sloppy striking. Very, very talented offensively, but it's kind of like where I could see an Ankalaev Paul Craig situation where like Rinat's winning the fight and then Battle pulls out something within the final 2 frames. You know what I mean? So I think I might go Battle in that 1-for-1.
Of course, we are 30 minutes away from lock, and this is Live Before Lock. We are sponsored by PrizePicks. Of course, they got their daily prop-based contest. Of course, click that link below to get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum and up to a $100 deposit match bonus when you sign up and make a deposit with PrizePicks. And Pete, as I look over PrizePicks, there are some things that do stick out to me today. First off, let's go over to the takedown realm over at PrizePicks, and Sergey is at 2.0. Give me more. I think he goes well north of that number. More. And then I'll take less 1.5 takedowns for Julian Erosa.
I might stay away from that one, but I'm going more on the Morozov. I think Newsom's going to be able to get back to his feet. Trains a lot with Ricky Simone. I think he'll get back to his feet, but I think he'll get taken down again.
Fight time. How Olashayshuk is 6.5. Give me less on that one. I just don't think that's going more than 6.5 minutes.
I can't imagine that fight going the distance, Jason.
That's one of those fights that I would be relatively surprised if this thing hits the second round.
If it was 7.5, I would love it more,
Yeah.
But clearly it's not. So I'll still say less.
Significant strikes. I'm going to your guy, Arman Sarukian, 45.5. Give me more.
Yeah, more.
Because if you look at all of Ismagul's fights in the UFC have gone the distance, and when you look at when Sarukian has gone for 3 rounds, he hits this number easily.
I have a real gut feeling he knocks out Demir today. I just don't know why. I think he does.
Yeah, looking at some other ones that stick out to me, the significant strike prop, Julian Erosa 72.5 is one that does intrigue me. If you think Sean Strickland and Jared Cannonier is not going 25 minutes, I like the less 107.5 significant strikes there for Sean Strickland. Over there at Fight Time, some of these, I mean, you've got 3 fights that they have at 14 3/4. Sergey, Nurmagomedov, and Drew. I mean, all 3 of those fights are probably a good chance they're going the distance. But man, if you're taking them more than 14 3/4, you could be sweating out some of those.
Yeah, agreed. And I like to look at lines sometimes when I'm looking at my construction and my builds to see if I'm targeting the right fights. But I also trust my gut more than anything.
Yeah. I'm guessing that the reaction I see from Tyler is based on
Tyler's
I just saw that
right now. I wish y'all had a producer
Jackson
cam.
State game is going a little crazy, apparently.
I wish you guys could see a producer cam. My man was freaking out.
But of course, we appreciate everyone tuning in here. Be sure to smash that like button. Of course, just subscribe to Stokastic. Hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when the show is live here on the channel. Of course, we got you covered all day long for your DFS needs. Of course, NBA, of course, NFL going on right now as the Colts just putting it to the Vikings. I don't think anyone saw that one coming. Just shows you never know what's going to happen here. But of course, if you got any questions, be sure to line those up in chat. We'll kind of get through those today. Tanner with Pete's just favorite question. We know Pete loves these questions. Any locks today? I was like, Tyler, did we just lose Pete?
No, I think I'm going Arman Sarukian. I think so.
Yeah, I would feel good for that one. AJ earlier, he says, Monshate missing weight, give me pause in a large field GPP. Hoffa is good. I mean, we talked about this earlier. That could have been a business decision.
You know what's crazy, though, is MMA is so nuts because you can fight one guy that the public perception is negative on, like Kritz Gritzmacher, and lose that fight pretty decisively, and then come back and look very dominant in your next ones. So it's a matter of, styles make fights. If you look on the box score and you see he lost to Kritz Gritzmacher, who kind of struggled inside the UFC, you're probably going to pick any prospect over him in Mahashate.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you have to take into account of development. You know what I mean? That's the one thing we can't really project: improvements throughout camp, changes of camp, injuries, outside influences, tons of things. But I do think I have a larger sample size of Hoffa Garcia, so I got more faith than the public does.
Next up, Alex says, can you rate the 8,800 and above plays for cash today? So we got I mean, look. Okay, obviously, yeah. That I think you've made it clear. He is officially on the Pete Man Crush list, apparently.
No, I really like him, man. I think that he got hosed in his last one against Mateusz Gamrot, and in a 3-round fight, I think we're going to see we might see the best yet. Watch Demir knock him out. I will lose everything, but
I mean, Sergey at 9,300 sticks out to me because that takedown upside, could be able to rack up some points there. Looking at other ones above 8,800, Jake Matthews, I think, is another good play above 8,800 for cash. You feel pretty confident in that one. Velismus, I really don't want to go there at 9,000, and it's just it goes down to a fantasy score upside perspective on that one. Olashayshuk, I mean, I think that's a roster construction in terms of, fitting it into your lineup, but do like a potential first round finish there. Julian Rosa, I don't mind it as a cash. I'm not really big on it from a GPP perspective. The only thing that does concern you, even though Julian has never been submitted in his career, he very well knows that Alex is going to try to get on his back. When I spoke to Julian about 3 weeks ago, he mentioned to me that Raul Rojas Jr. was someone that he was working with a lot at 10th Planet to get ready for this matchup. Amir Albazi, I'd rather go down to Olashaychuk at $200 cheaper than go to Albazi, personally. And I mean, it's just a huge price tag you got to pay. And then you mentioned about Sarukian.
Yeah, so like I like Sarukian a lot. I think that Morozov has some great takedown upside. I worry less about Journey Newson. And I think that Brundage with the correct game plan could pose a problem for Mihail Olashaychuk. But it's Armin Sarukian and Jake Matthews. And like Demir's talented. I think that Armin's better. I do. I think that Armin is better. And when I see Rafael Alves drop Demir, I can see a sneaky finish from Armin Sarukian here and prove to everybody that he is the guy to start contending for the belt.
Is Garcia versus Machate a must roster fight? I feel like that will end quickly either way. That coming from Tristan. It would not be a must roster fight for me.
Really?
I there's other fights I want to get to before I even look to getting to that one.
I think it has high score. I think it's going to have a high score. All right, let me ask you this. 1-for-1, Renat Fakhretdinov, Brian Battle fight, or Rafa Garcia, Mahashate. Which fight do you prefer for GPP? It's a close one, right?
I mean, I like Hanat because of the takedown upside.
Mm-hmm.
But I get what you're throwing down, though. I mean, I think part of my concern would be on the Rafa Garcia side is, what happens if this fight hits the third round? Is that cardio still there? I mean, that to me would be a question mark for me.
Yeah, that is a solid question. And I think that I would probably be I'm going to go with the Garcia and Mahashate from a GPP upside standpoint.
Yeah, no, I get you on that one. Let's see here. Brand says I have 60% Kakramanov. How absolutely concerned should I be?
I'm kind of heavy today too.
Yeah, I'm heavy on him too. I think I was in the 45% range on him, I want to say.
I'm pretty heavy on Said Yokub. We got chat trying to match me up with Jordan Levitt. I would knock him right out.
And something to note about Said Yokub is his main training partner is Terrence McKinney. Those two guys are best of buds.
Yeah, and I think that Terrence McKinney in the gym is probably one of the hardest people to deal with. You know what I mean? Bigger gloves, high work rate, great wrestling. Your chin doesn't get tested as much in the gym as it does under the lights. So I know that he's an absolute handful for Said Yokub, and I'm sure the reverse is applied as well.
Yeah, and I want to. They've kind of gym top around over the past year or so. They were up there at Sick Jitsu up in Washington, where Kies is at. And then I know Sayoku went to Team Oyama at one point. I want to say McKinney might have gone to ATT for a little bit. They've been kind of going around at various gyms.
It's good to get some cross training in, but I definitely think that you need some stability. We've seen people from smaller gyms do just fine, but you need bodies. That's the one thing is you need bodies. You have to have people pushing you in the gym. So if you don't have bodies, you got to get some work in.
Kevin goes, I need value on this slate. I'm getting to an uncomfortable amount of McKenna and even Costa. Tell me it will be okay.
It'll be okay because I'm doing the same damn thing, and we're going to see if I can run it back this week. Listen, there's a reason why Costa's single digit owned, but I think that I can double it and increase my chances because from a floor standpoint, a salary standpoint, 66 is embarrassingly low. Like, I don't care if he wins. I just want points.
Yeah. Another comment says, kind of surprised everyone is straight fading Dvorak just because he is fighting Manel Kopp.
Flyweight is very similar to women's MMA, where outside the elite, any of these guys can compete and pick up a win. And high activity, great volume from Dvorak, pretty low accuracy, suspect chin, came into the UFC and on a massive win streak. I think he's good. It goes to show you how much I believe in Manel Kopp.
Yeah. The thing is, I can't believe that's the second fight on this card.
You're not
truly amazed by that.
I don't know. I said it to you the other day. Like, what the heck are they doing with the fight orders lately? It's terrible.
Why is Albazi Costa the third to last fight on this card?
They must really believe in Albazi.
Yeah.
I think he's good.
Like, I would say this. Like, when Agreed. I think of fights that are going to be action-packed, exciting, okay? Dober Green. As long as it lasts, Brunage Olashaychuk. Nurmagomedov and Kakramanov. Those would be the top ones I think that will be action-packed fights.
Yeah, more for tricks said they should have switched that fight with should have switched the Manel Kopp fight with the Albazi fight. Totally agree. Totally agree.
And Sam over in Discord mentioned about, it's probably because he was supposed to fight Roy Val. Remember, this is Albazi's third opponent for this fight card. He was initially supposed to take on Alex Perez. Perez pulls out. Roy Val gets the fight. Roy Val gets the injury. He pulls out. Now Costa gets the matchup.
And I'll tell you, man, it's screwy when you're a fight. Some fighters are fine with getting changes of opponents, and it does play with you though. Up and down. You don't know if you're having a fight from day to day. Then you're fighting a lefty, a righty, a wrestler, a striker, all that. It's weird.
All right, let me throw this one out to you. Your answer cannot be Arman Tsarukyan. Who are you starting your cash lineup with?
Who am I starting it with?
Yeah. As in your most confident play, and it can't be Tsarukyan.
Jared Cannonier. He's the best cash play on
the slate.
Yeah, he's the best cash play on the slate. It's a 5-round fight. I think that it's a close fight. He might not win, but he has 5 rounds to work with, and I think that he's going to be the better striker against Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland beat up Jack Hermanson, but squeaked by. I think that Cannonier finds a left hook and knocks him out.
Yeah, and if you're Cannonier, your also thought process, and I saw someone else bring this up, is the fact of he may look at this situation and say, if the UFC doesn't want to book the immediate rematch between Alex and Izzy, that if he goes out there and puts together a highlight reel knockout, that maybe he jumps in front of the line.
Yeah, and I know that people got some Strickland love. I think, somebody in the main event is always great to start a cash lineup. You know what I mean? Like 5 rounds, especially when you think it's going to go to distance and it's a striking matchup. Take the points. Or the easiest way is you take the biggest favorite on the slate. But I'm not going to do that. I think I'd much rather give you guys a salary saving. And for me, it's Jared Cannonier.
Great comments here from Alex where he says, Brunage fight probably way higher ceiling than McKenna. If you aren't running the 9,400, then I'd say Brundage. And I think in terms of a fight ceiling, I would totally agree with that because the reality is Brunage Olashaychuk will be over first, early second round, most likely. Where Velismus and McKenna is probably going 15 minutes. And if you're on the Velismus side of the equation, your hope has got to be is that, she can, just jab her to death, maybe score a knockdown or two, maybe get a takedown at the end of the round. And then, of course, you're on the McKenna side. It's about just, chain wrestling.
Yeah. You broke it down perfectly. Chain wrestling, the second, third attempts is what really gets people and catches them off guard. So, McKenna can't just go to a one attempt. She's got to attempt to mix things up. And, a different fighter who I think can chain wrestle better is Morozov. Mm-hmm. Like he's one of the better chain wrestlers here. So that's where Journey Newson's going to defend early. But I think the second, third attempts are going to get him down.
Yeah, I mean that to me is, I mean, I mean, I don't really love playing the first fight, but Sergey was one of my higher owned fighters today.
Who is?
Sergey,
Yeah,
because of that wrestling upside.
yeah. I mean, it was like Mihal and Sergey 1A, 1B for me from a GPP standpoint.
Yeah. Um, Get some other questions in here before we get out of here. We got just about 14 minutes here before we're going to get out of here, and these fights are going to start. Juicy J, Cheyenne, or Cop for a single entry.
I'm going Manel Cop. I saw him. I know the flyweight division tends to go longer, but Mateusz Nicolau dropped him. I think Manel Cop's going to drop David Dvorak and knock him out.
I would, if I was going to rank those three, I would agree with you about Manel Cop being number one. I would put Arosa 2 and Velismus 3. And it comes from a fantasy score potential of what that could be. I mean, Cheyenne in a win, it's probably more likely a Cheyenne Velismus win is in the 70 to 80 range than it is being 90 plus.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's probably how I'd rank it too. Cop, Arosa, Velismus.
One thing I want to mention before we get back to the questions here is, our team over here at Stokastic is always creating new tools to help you out. And a new tool that's now up on the site is Lineup Generator. Great way to help build winning contests for DFS. Of course, you can check that out over at Stokastic.com. If you're looking to some help on building your NFL and NBA lineups, be sure to check out. It's a great tool that our guys have come together to put that one together, help you out. I've used that tool in creating NBA lineups when I do get a chance to play a little NBA DFS. And I meant to play some NBA last night. I was trying to build up that bankroll a little bit last night, but just forgot to do it. I got busy doing other things for you. I just forgot to do it. But it's a tremendous tool. Tremendous tool.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Make sure you check it out and check out everything we have on our website. And you know me. I like that. I like that tool, but I'm more focused on our MMA stuff, which I can't wait to use today in the tournaments.
William has asked this question multiple times. The reason it's called UFC Vegas 66 is because that's how the UFC numbers these. It's from an SEO search engine optimization aspect to do things. So anytime you have a card in the Apex, it's UFC Vegas, and then whatever number it is, like the next one on January 14th will be UFC Vegas 67. Even though I do think we're going to start seeing more UFC events on the road in 2023. I think that's something that you can be very easily see happen there. Why fade Dvorak? He's cheap and Cop will not make optimal low volume 2 or later round KO, possibly max 95 points. We're not saying to fade Dvorak, but no. The problem with it, and it's both of these guys, they're both low volume guys, but we have seen Manel Cop, light some dudes up on the feet. He just doesn't throw much.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm looking at the ownership and I'm right there. I am right there. I'm not going crazy. He's not a popular underdog. He's going relatively under-owned, but I'm basically matching that ownership just because I do favor Manel Cop, David Dvorak, like against Jordan Espinoza, who I don't hold nearly on the same level as Manel Cop. He only scored 57 in a win. You know what I mean, Jason? Like, he could win, and if he scores 57 at that price point, he probably still makes it into the optimal lineup. But I don't know, man. I like Manel Cop.
Yeah, I'm with you there. If you have a lineup coming into the main event and you're relying on Strickland, are you confident in that chin?
No, I'm not. I'm not confident in it. It's also because, like, this guy's an idiot. And I understand he's popular, but he, like, got knocked out against Izzy. Against Izzy. He got knocked out against Pereira. What was it? 3 days later, he's back to hard sparring, and he's posting like crazy hard sparring. So that every time that he's in the gym, it's like a full-on fight, which is great. It gets you acclimated to how it's going to be, but it's not good from a damage perspective. And little gloves, guy in Cannonier, who everybody says, wow, that guy hits really, really hard, used to fight weight classes higher. I'm just
Mhm.
saying. He's going completely undervalued, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the thing you hear out in Vegas is Strickland like literally spars every day.
Yeah, like I know some
Uh,
people that do the same thing, and it's good, but you got to have technical sparring. And if you're just
yeah,
fighting every day, then go do bare knuckle. You're an idiot.
I have a feeling we'll never see Pete in a bare knuckle fight.
No, never. Now, I'll tell you what, though. You know what's crazy is if it was bare knuckle kickboxing. So if it was like,
Mhm.
punches, kicks, knees, and elbows, I would be all about it. I just don't. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone's asked about our top 3 plays on DK. I mean, I think it's clear Saruki will be one of those 3 for you.
Yeah, I hope he comes through. It's Sarukian, it's Said Yokub, Kakramanov,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like a Jared Cannonier / Bobby Green. That's kind of how I'm starting a lot of my lineups.
Yeah, I would put Jake Matthews in that conversation for me.
I would agree with that as well.
Yeah, I would say mine would be Jake Matthews, Kakramanov, and the third one is probably Sergey.
I like that. And honestly, like which fighters are making you nervous that you don't have enough exposure? I'll give you 2 right now that it really makes me nervous about. I'm really light on Drew Dober, and I'm really light on
Yes.
Said or Magomedov. Those are the 2 fighters where I'm like, I don't know if I have enough of them.
It's funny you say Drew Dober because when I was developing my lineups, that was one thought I had. I was like, do I not have enough Drew Dober?
I think I have like a couple. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm like, oh boy, he hits really hard. Dustin Poirier knocked out Bobby Green. I think Bobby Green will be dominating the striking exchanges. I just worry about the durability. We'll see.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I didn't find myself getting to a lot of Ismagulov. I didn't get to a lot of Barossa. I want to say I was probably in that 25-30% range.
Yep.
Trying to think. I didn't get much to Smellsburger just because I just don't think he can stop a takedown.
Yeah,
And Journey Newsom was another one that I just didn't get to a lot.
all accurate. I mean, thanks, guys. That was, if you have any more questions, throw them in chat real quick. If you can hit that like button, get us over 100 likes, we'd really appreciate it. Final card of the year. Final card of the year, man. A little sad about it.
Yeah, you got it. You got it after today. The next one's not till January 14th, Pete.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm going to start. Well, I don't know where my money's going to go now. I'm going to start doing something else.
Which say you got a lot of time during the week now.
I mean, I don't know what the heck. There needs to be something to do. I mean, football's great. It would be nice if it kind of coincided with playoffs, but we need something to fill this gap.
Battle and Machate in the same line for a GPP.
I did it several times, and I'm going to close my eyes.
Yeah. Someone asking about Caceres and Rosa, low sneaky play or leave it alone. I don't love it in terms of GPPs. Not really a big GPP fight for me today. But if you told me I had a roster, I'd much rather get to Julian Erosa. I mean, the guy's been on a tear, and talking to him a couple of weeks ago, the thing that really stuck out to me, 2 things stuck out to me. One is the fact that he's wanted this fight for some time. And the second one was, talking about his mindset change of talking about, being more technical with, okay, not going balls to the wall and potentially leaving yourself exposed to get caught. That to me was the biggest takeaway I had from the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, he has clearly done something right. He's on a tear. He's looked better. I still worry about his chin, and like mid combination, I'm kind of always just like cringing a little bit. He's going to get hit with a counter shot and get planted, but I do think he's the better fighter here. Like if you put all the skills on the table, he's the better fighter than Caceres. But Caceres, one little shot, spun around, take the back. It could happen. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, and Julian made that point to me. He said, he goes, look, I have to keep him off my back. He goes, that's what Alex wants to do. The other thing I did think that I kind of took, like he didn't say it, it was more of just me kind of reading into it, is that I think he believes that, he's going to have to chase Alex around in the stand-up aspect.
100%. He's going to have to be the bull, and he's going to have to close that gap. Caceres going to be dancing, doing a little matador type of movement. And that's kind of why I got away from the fight from a build standpoint, more so than the public. I just kind of like, it might not really turn out to be a great GPP fight.
Garrett, my answer is super easy on this one. He asking Bobby Green or Jared Cannonier last piece for a GPP. It's Jared Cannonier all the way for me.
It's close. It's really close.
The five rounds to work with, knockout upside. This is the thing. Okay, what if Bobby Green does not land any takedowns? What is the fantasy score ceiling for him?
I mean, he scored a lot in losses. I mean, Hafel Fazeev, he didn't land any takedowns. He attempted to. He didn't get them. He threw 263 strikes. He landed 143. He put out 57 points in a loss. I think there's an argument that this is really close. I made a lot of lineups where I was like, okay, last piece, Bobby Green. A lot of lineups, last piece, Jared Cannonier. I'm still going to say Cannonier, but I think it's closer than what a lot of people are imagining.
And I'll say this, for a fight night card, I think this is a nice fight night card to end the year on.
I don't think it's bad. Yeah, I don't think it's bad at all.
We've seen a lot worse. We've seen a lot worse.
A lot worse.
We've seen a lot worse. A lot worse. and this card was supposed to have Jeff Neal and Rachmanov.
Yeah,
that was initially slated for this card. Yeah. But I mean, look, the thing about Bobby Green is, I mean, all caps of volume. That is what he does.
I can't wait. I think he's gonna hit Drew Dober so many damn times. Imagine if he knocks out Drew Dober. I mean, McKinney hurt Dober a lot. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Of course, we appreciate everyone tuning in here for Live Before Lock. We're just about to hit lock here, so we appreciate everyone tuning in. Of course, if you haven't hit that like button, we really do appreciate that. And of course, check out everything we have over here at Stokastic.com. Of course, follow myself and Pete on Twitter. Follow Stokastic on Twitter as well. And that's going to do it for this edition of Live Before Lock. And we will talk to you in the new year. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Peace.